Consumers have grown to love convenient salads, from tubs of pre-washed baby spinach to bags of chopped romaine. There's only one problem with these modern-day conveniences. They're regularly implicated in foodborne illness outbreaks. Government regulators have long known that greens and lettuces pose a particular food safety risk. A recent analysis of outbreaks by the Centers for Disease Control shows vegetables that grow in row crops, like lettuces, account for 42% of E. coli infections. Experts say a number of factors can lead to this. Contamination can occur on the farm when birds make frequent flights overhead, or low-lying fields flood with contaminated water. But most of the extra risk comes from the contact with people and machinery before the greens arrive on your plate. E. coli can be spread by farm workers who don't wash their hands, or by farm equipment that has manure on it. Once the greens are picked, they move to a packaging plant where they're exposed to more workers and more equipment. Then products from multiple farms are bagged in the same facility, which further increases the odds of cross-contamination. And then there's a simple fact. Lettuce grows in the dirt, it's eaten raw, and there's no opportunity to cook it to kill bacteria.